Days, but nothing changed unless you change what's around you, how you think, how you live, how you speak, how you walk, how you blink, how you talk, how you teach, how you reach, let it sink. What's your purpose? What's your passion? Through the pain, what's your plan? Is it plane? On a plane? Hydroplane? I'm just playing. What's your purpose? What's your passion? Through the pain.
Alrighty. I was told last week that I sort of cut in too quickly or something like that, but you know, you live and you learn, so I had to slow it down and make sure that I was on point. But you are now plugged in with Molly and Joe, the Mental Warriors. Once again, I don't know, this is episode 8, something like that, something to that effect. But I'm enjoying myself to the fullest. Joe, what's your feelings behind it?
It's been a blast. Every week we come up with some new content, some new material, because there's so much happening. So it's just great to have someone to talk it to and make it make sense, you know?
It's like rapid fire, you know what I mean? Just keep coming, you know, certain things just, you know, I mean, history is the gift that keeps on giving, especially Black history, you know. I mean, it's so much of it. And then there's so much of it not taught. So it gives us a bigger platform than, you know, than what we should have when it comes down to fairness and equality. You know what I'm saying? Right?
That's true.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're gonna recap. That's what we're gonna do in the introductions. We're gonna recap. You know, I'm Molly, the voice. You know, there's something to that. That's my brother over there, Words by Joe. Definitely got plenty of words, got plenty of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding about a lot of different things, a lot of different aspects and avenues. We are the Mental Warriors. We hope that we're inspiring others to do the same, to be thinkers, not followers, you know. And even if you have to follow, make sure that you make the right choices when you're doing so. Feel me?
For sure. So we can kind of recap last week when we were talking about marijuana becoming legal in New York. One of the biggest state as far as the economy is concerned. For the United States of America, we bring in so much revenue and financial status for the country, and the fact that we were pretty much talking about how now people are looking to benefit. The government is looking to benefit off marijuana sales.
That brings me to it was a little hey Precious, how you feeling? That brings me to a situation where I posted on Facebook. I said, I forget who the sister is, the sister name. I think she was quoted here. Michelle Alexander was quoted saying, "Here are white men poised to run big marijuana businesses, dreaming of cashing in big. Big money, big business selling weed after 40 years of locking up impoverished Black kids for selling weed. Their families and futures destroyed. Now white men are planning on getting rich, doing precisely the same exact thing."
Wow, that means a lot. You know what that means to me? That kind of reminds me of the guinea pig template, meaning you use the guinea pigs to see what goes right, what goes wrong. And if they feel that it's financially viable, and now we're at the part where it can be financially viable. But I also think it has a lot to do with the state shutdown and people, you know, dealing with the pandemic, using marijuana as a resource for emotional.
Well,
so people are looking at that as a beneficiary, and they can succeed.
Well, this country has been benefiting off of the beneficial effects of marijuana through the masses, just by, you know, the calming influence and the such. I mean, people didn't have to be, well, of course. I mean, it's all about the taxing, and it's all about control. It's all about being able to tax it. It's all about, I mean, and they're doing some high taxes over here. When it comes down to New York City. So it's always about the bottom dollar, which is, you know, money, you know. They did the same thing back in the days with liquor. You know, 1 minute, it was illegal and the such, and then it was taxed heavy and made legal again. You know what I mean? So, I mean, there's that. But moving ahead, you know, that was our little recap. We could speak all day about that, but that was our little recap.
Sure.
So we're gonna go to our next segment, which is paying homage to the ancestors. Okay. This is an important segment because it's always going to be part of our rundown, for the simple fact that we want people to understand how much our people has done for the world, you know. All right. So go ahead, Joe. Give me your ancestor for this week.
My ancestor for this week is Dr. Amos Wilson.
Okay.
Dr. Amos Wilson was born in Hattiesburg, Mississippi on February 23rd, 1941. He completed his undergraduate degree at Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia, mastered at the New School for Social Research, and obtained a PhD degree from Fordham University in New York. Wilson worked as a psychologist, social caseworker, supervising probation officer, and as in training administrator in the New York City Department of Juvenile Justice.
Okay.
So one thing I remember about Dr. Baba Wilson, when I was younger, he was one of those master teachers when it came to the social, economic, emotional status of the Black family. He wrote this book called The Blueprint of Black Power.
The Blueprint of Black Power.
The Blueprint for Black Power.
For Black Power. Okay.
He was very much into the psychology of the African American, male, female, child. One of my favorite books by him is called The Developmental Psychology of the Black Child.
Okay.
Where he pretty much talks about from birth to the child becomes an adult, how to raise the child, how to look at the child's psyche, how to look at just pretty much development of what it is, the development of the Black child, especially growing up in the 80s and 90s. You know, that stuff was very important. I have a lot of his lectures, and unfortunately he died very young. He was like in his late 40s when he passed away, but he left a legacy for those mental warriors such as ourselves to look back and say, wow, 40, 50 years ago, we were still talking about the development, you know, because we really just started to find our footing like in the late 60s and 70s. So people like Baba Wilson.
When you say we, who do you mean?
African Americans. We were finding our footing because, you know, we just finished going through civil rights, you know, getting getting access to a lot of liberties that we should have already had.
Correct.
The next step to that was, what do we do to, how do we advance?
Right.
And you had guys like Dr. Ben Cannon and you had Dr. Baba Wilson. These were guys that were giving us the answers, the tools to succeed as a Black people, as African Americans, as a family. So, you know, ashe to Baba Wilson.
Okay. Yes. I saw you post in our chat that him along with a few other brothers would be, you know, some people that that we should look into studying if we have it already. And can you name a few of them brothers that he that circle of brothers that you was talking about?
Well, Chancellor Williams is one. Dr. John Henry Clark is another. And Chiak Anta Diop is another one.
Okay.
They were all master teachers. Even the late Arturo Schomburg, who was somebody who pretty much gave us the blueprint to finding our history and heritage. So these were people that left a legacy of those who are interested in finding about themselves, finding themselves within themselves. So there's a whole bunch. Frantz Fanon is another one. There's a whole bunch of them that are I won't say under the radar, but they just.
What I want you to do is that same post that you had sent into the chat. Let's throw it on the page and make sure our people is able to, you know, get some reference to what we speak on. You know what I mean? You know, because there's a lot of background research that go towards our thoughts on certain things. I mean, yes, it's our thoughts, but we want to make sure people understand that they can find a lot of this information for themselves as well. You know what I mean? So we don't want them to, you know, get caught, you know, thinking we just flying off by the, you know, by the whim or what have you, you know. So give it some context, you know.
Yes, sir. So who is your ancestor you're paying homage to today?
Okay, the late Robert Nesta Marley, aka the great Bob Marley.
Yes.
When I said the great Bob Marley, yes, it was yesterday. It just came to me, you know, because we was going through our production meeting, and you put Dr. Amos on there, and it just said it, you know. So we're talking about a man who was born February 6th, 1945, and he left us May 11th, 1981. Very, very young, if you ask me. Was a Jamaican singer, songwriter, and musician. Considered one of the pioneers of reggae, his musical career was marked by fusing elements of reggae, ska, and rocksteady, as well as his distinctive vocal and songwriting style. You know, he hailed from Jamaica. He loved Jamaica. He loved everything. He loved everything what Jamaica stood for. There you go. The great man.
The one, the only.
Yeah, man. Look, man, listen, he just looked like peace. You know what I'm saying? He
spoke what he's saying. Like, I mean, for that generation, he was just, and for him to have an impact 40 plus years later after his death, you know, he was just for the, you know, he did so much for not just Jamaica, but for the world. Like, he talked about peace and love, and he was a Pan-Africanist. So he was somebody who spread the teachings of God, and in his music, he used his music to spread the word.
And that's the reason why I chose him. No, bring him back. Bring Bob back, man. Bring Bob back. That's a, like you said, he calming. It's a calming thing. We need more symbolisms of a Bob Marley these days, man. He looked like he had compassion for a fly. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yes,
you know what I mean. But it was meaningful. You could take him down now, but it was meaningful for me as far as chosen Bob Marley, because that was one of the artists in the world that my father was inspired by, and my father actually listened to. My father wasn't necessarily into music per se. He was, into learning and being, just teaching himself. He was just always just learning and learning and learning, as much as he could about himself. And when I learned that, Bob Marley was his favorite artist, it made me go and see what Bob Marley was about a little bit deeper. And in listening to Bob Marley's music, it was always a message, always a message. It was always something being taught to you. It was always something, something being relayed to your mind. You understand what I'm saying? One of my favorite ones is Redemption Song. You know what I mean? And that was my father's favorite, but it's the words, you know what I'm saying? The lyrics, you know what I mean? How long mental slavery, man. You know what I'm saying? It speaks to it. You know what I mean? And we being the mental warriors that we are, we're trying to break those patterns, trying to break those patterns and get rid of those chains on the mind. You know what I'm saying? And Bob Marley helped me a lot in the 90s, man. Listen, Bob was salvation when it came down to music and getting me in a certain vibe and a certain mood. Let alone that's when I was partaking, of the marijuana and whatnot, in my the beginning of them days. So you sort of correlate, you know what I mean? You put it together, you'd be like, okay, Bob Marley and smoking got to go together,
That's right. My favorite Bob Marley song is Three Little Birds.
Yeah, that's a good one. That is a good one for sure. That is definitely a good one. I don't know. It's New York City. You hear the fire engines?
Yes. Can't escape the city.
Nah, not at all. But we're gonna head into the studio soon. Gonna head into the studio that get some interviews going. Shaw was telling us behind the scenes how his experience with the studio went, and it was a lovely thing. But yeah, that was my shout out to the one great Bob Marley. You know what I mean? So
Ashe.
Yes, sir. So what we're going to go to next is our current event segment. Our current event segment speaks to something that Joe brought up. You brought this one up, Joe, right? Didn't you bring this one up?
Yes, I did. Current events. We talked about President Biden. His administration is planning to continue building the wall that former President Trump started. So one of the things that we talked about was we thought that the wall was supposed to be something that was a symbolism of hate, destruction,
Right.
and that the administration is still continuing with President Trump's plans.
Right.
And like, well, what's the real agenda behind that?
Right. Right. So my thing is, it's like, it's politics as usual. You understand? Because at some point you got to do something to where you're not dividing the country and all this other crap that they always try to speak on. And it's a sad, the sad situation, which leads us into also what this also makes us realize is the discrimination against our Latino brothers and sisters, and us accepting our place in history as African Latino. You understand what I'm saying? So, and I know I am being a Panamanian, and I know you are being a Panamanian heritage as well, correct?
That's correct.
So it actually, it actually is, heartbreaking to see these kind of things happen towards our fellow brothers and sisters. But we got a little footage coming up, and give you a fair warning that it's a little heartbreaking. But this is what's going on down by the border. Not sure if they're ready yet. Maybe they're ready. There we go.
Here we go.
So right here, what you're seeing is a parent, obviously, just dropping their child over the border wall. This is their attempt at freedom and what they consider freedom. Because they're coming, whatever they're running from in their country. This is what they're willing to do to experience this feeling. It's kind of sad. And
Well,
look, they left,
they're running. It's like it's
giving them a chance.
A chance at what they don't have,
Right.
Looking at that, it's like desperation. You look at what's happening with what happened during enslavement and in Africa. Where does a person have to be psychologically to drop their toddlers over a wall? Like, are they at that desperation point where it's like, I can't do anything, but I got to give my kids a chance to survive?
Give me 1 second, because we have a question here from a sister here. She says, I think no matter what, something should be done about the border situation. All right. Agreed. So I agree to that fact. Something should be done. But what I don't agree is the aggression in which America tries to get these things done. Because as we go along in this segment, what we're going to show you is that Mexico is a little bit bigger than what the border entails.
Absolutely.
If we go by old Mexico, as they would call it, it would be a little bit bigger. So we're going to speak on that in a second, but I'm going to go to your other question. I know we feel like it's discrimination, but they are just dropping kids here and leaving. As a community activist, as a community leader, I don't have a problem with parents or people trying to save their kids' lives. It's really, it's heartbreaking that, I mean, for whatever reason, if Mexico is bigger, for whatever reason, guess what? The living conditions obviously is in where they want their kids to be raised. But when it comes down to it, having the children come over here to try to find a better life or what have you, it's no different than anybody that's come over here to do the same. You know, everybody should just have a chance to live. I mean, I can't sit there and nutshell it one way or the other. And then that goes to our question, and that goes into this question of where does a person have to be psychologically to drop their toddlers over the wall? You know, there's decisions to be made. Some people jump the ship when they, you know, when you talk about slavery, you know, people are desperate, do desperate things in desperate times.
That's right.
So how to judge someone who says, you know what, I want my kid to at least have a chance in life. I'm gonna drop them over this wall. And then for us to say, well, no, you shouldn't be able to drop them over this wall. It'd be no different than why should anybody help us in our dire needs? Why should one another help each other? I mean, Joe, you can speak to it.
Well, I look at the story of, like you said, of enslavement, of of us traveling to these countries. There were people who would rather die, jump off the ships into the ocean, as opposed to dealing with the enslavement to getting them to this country. So that's where I look at it as. I look at it as people just sacrificing themselves and their family. They're saying what we're about to endure is worse than what we're dealing with now.
Right. So now, in her, she said that not looking at this correctly. Maybe not. Maybe we aren't looking at it correctly, but we aren't looking at it with a closed mind either, because what happens is if you have a solution, then let's, by all means, let's come up with a solution. But to sit here and act as if there isn't problems all around us, all around all these borders, listen, you know, that's basically what it is. It's like, and then she said that some of the kids are being dropped in these camps and such. That's because they're not allowed to be able to come over and get help like they once did because of, you know, Trump's orders and Trump's policies and such. So what we're talking about is Biden picking up the same baton and dropping it on their heads. We thought it was going to be a little bit different than what Trump was talking about, because, I mean, they said build the wall. I mean, they said build the wall. I'm saying, okay, what has the wall been doing? What has the border walls been doing for all these years? Mexicans continue to get into this.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, look at it this way. Who is the government really trying to keep out? You had President Trump talking about the bad guys, killers, robbers, things of that nature. But who are they really trying to keep out? Like, can you really tell me that these kids are robbers, killers, thieves? No. So when you look at the people that they're trying to keep out into the country, no, these are probably hardworking people that are just tired of what's happening in Mexico and trying to find better salvation here.
Well, it goes into the attempt and what is allowed, because what is allowed, there's more people coming through the wall of the airport than there's people coming through the wall down in Mexico. There's people that's coming over on education visas and never going back. Let's talk about it.
Yes.
And there's people coming here on planes with plane tickets coming through our airports and not going back home.
Nope.
You understand? So it's bigger than just the wall. It's about controlling all of the all facets of getting into this country and not leaving back out. You understand? And then a lot of it is homegrown problems, because we outsource a lot of our jobs anyway. A lot of the big major jobs, the big science jobs and all that other stuff, we get our big time CEOs from other countries.
Absolutely. More international, because that's how you make more money. You go overboard. And a lot of it's due because of what we owe as a country. So we have to do these things. We have to outsource to India. We got to outsource to China. We got to outsource to Europe, because we owe them so much financially. So that's our way of paying them back.
So what they do is they send you blind. They send us, oh, look, okay, look at the border. Look, we're doing something at the border. All the while the airports is letting them in freely.
That's right.
The whole time. So, like I said, that's the reason why my heart bleeds out for my brothers and sisters, you know what I mean? Because it's like, okay, if everybody else is trying to get away from their situation or from their impoverished situation, listen, what's the difference? You know?
Absolutely. And let's look from a historical standpoint. Where the border was originally Mexican territory to begin with. Maybe they're just trying to go back to where they came, their ancestors were. It's not the fact that they're trying to cross American lines. That's probably where they were. You know, we have to look at it from that instinct. You know, the Mexican-American War. You know, a lot of the residents, they were pushed further south. You know, anything from Nevada and Utah, as north as Nevada and Utah, and as far west as California was Mexico. That was originally Mexico.
Right.
So let's put it this way. If the Alamo had been lost, we would be Mexicans, not Americans.
Right. A whole lot of us. A whole lot of us. Right. And that is true. That is true. It's not after the war. And that is what this country do. This country wars with people and takes stuff over. Yes. And that's understandable. We happen to be on the lucky side of history, I guess, you know what I mean? The plus side, because I wouldn't want to be in one of these war-torn countries, that's for sure. But like you say, if you look at the map here, that was all Mexico at one time. California, Nevada, Utah, Arizona, some of New Mexico. I mean, we steal everything. We
yes.
Very warmongering. And listen, I mean, I'm not mad. Business is business. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, it's like, okay, if Mexico would have won, would they have been any better towards us? Like, you know what I mean? As black folk anyway, you know what I mean? But that goes into what we were trying to, tie it into, with us feeling this amount of sensitivity towards what's happening down at the border. I wonder, why is it so hard for some Afro-Latino cultures to accept their African heritage?
Absolutely.
You know, because I accept my Spanish heritage fully. You know what I mean? I wish I could speak Spanish, you know.
Same here. I wish I'd met my Panamanian family, but I didn't know any of them. But I know that I have it.
Right.
I woke up at 16 years old, grew and had a full fro, and realized that it was curly, like soft Spanish hair. And I'm like, why do I have that? So it was weird. But then I realized, I found out about my Panamanian heritage. So I was like, oh, okay. So I am, and I claim it every day.
Kind of cool, but in my experiences in life, I've experienced more racism coming from the Hispanic culture than I've ever experienced from even a white culture, you know what I mean? Like personally,
absolutely.
You know what I mean? So yeah, I agree, wife of mine, that it might take about 3 more shows to address this, because actually, Precious thinks she's slick. Like, I don't mind her talking on it. She think she did a call. She know the number. How about that? Precious, you knew the number. All right, how about that?
We could give an example of not being recognized. Well, we're going to talk about it before our commercial, or just so briefly. We're going to talk about
what we could do is we'll make time for it in the end. We'll bring it back. Maybe Precious might want to come on and speak to what she, what she wants to be understood and heard about. Because as you can see, she was typing a mile a minute.
Yes, she got a lot to say.
And she wants to be heard about something. So we might, when she's ready, we'll know, and might bring her on and let her speak to it. Or it might have a whole nother show, because, like I said, it's pretty sensitive, right? It seems a little sensitive, right? Because I don't mind. Listen, I don't mind confrontation. I don't mind, bring it. Listen, let me know what you think I'm wrong at, because I might have to fix that.
Listen, you can learn from anybody at any time. So
yes. Said we not ready for. Okay, sis. I don't know why it has to be we ready for you, more so than understand some things that you might don't understand, because maybe you ain't ready for us in the same sense, my sister. So you can call in at any time that you feel that we understand or don't understand.
That's
and
right.
let us know what's going on. Because at the end of the day, it's all about making each other understand. At the end of the day, we're family. You know what I mean? That's what it's about, being plugged in. I don't want to be plugged in. I don't want to be out the loop. So with that being said, we're going to have words from our sponsor, the Evening Rush Network.
Looking to podcast shows and do not know where to start? The Evening Rush Network can help you with that. Call us at 929-441-2417 or email us at theeveningrushnetwork@gmail.com for dates and prices. We got you for all your podcast needs. The Evening Rush Network. Tune in, subscribe, and share.
All right. We are back, and Precious is still at it.
We must have hit a soft spot. It's okay.
It's all right.
All
right. Listen, I'm telling you, and my disclaimer, and that's what she missed that, right? She missed my disclaimer when the question was posed about the children.
Right.
I got into the business of taking care of the children.
That's right.
Once you're in the business of taking care of the children, there is no way that you could turn your back towards them, no matter whatever anybody says. For me, you know what I mean? For me, I want anybody to feel that, listen, I have a soft spot when it comes down to the kids. I mean, do I want them to, go into a situation where they're worse off in a camp? But like one of the people that wrote in said, if who's to say that the situation at the camps isn't better than what they were dealing with in their homes? You know what I mean? We're talking about, these places that don't have running water.
Right.
We're talking about places that don't have, bathrooms. We're talking about their sanitation system is nothing. You know what I mean? We're talking about eating and meals. We're talking about the social lifestyle, the rapes and the drug dealing and the cartel life and the killings and the such. So when you add all of these different things that's going on in these other countries, to escape in a place where we promise to give a fair shake. You know what I mean? When you look at the Constitution, it says, hey, listen, give us your tired, your needy, your poor, and all that other stuff. When did that mandate stop? You know what I mean? When did that stop? When did all of a sudden the border say, we at capacity? You know what I mean? It's always Pandora's box when you say things the way you say it. You know what I mean? So we don't end now. That's just my take on it,
Well, I was going to even just talk a little bit about, give an example of a Latin country that doesn't acknowledge their African side of their heritage. We were going to talk about the discord between the Dominican Republic and Haiti.
Mm-hmm. They're
on the same island. Haiti had control of the DR for about 40 years. After they relinquished control back to DR, you had a ruler, the diplomat by the name of Rafael Trujillo, who was considered to be like the Adolf Hitler of his time. He himself ordered this this raid against Black Haitians, and it just killed about 17 to 20,000 of them at one time. It was called the Partially Massacre, where after settling the borders, figuring out what the borders were between DR and Haiti, he went into Haiti and killed those who were affiliated with Haiti. Here's the funny thing about it, though. Trujillo was of Haitian descent.
Mm-hmm.
He recognized his descent, but anybody who was darker than him suffered, that's something that I'll never understand. Like, they are the same people, so you're killing your people for under what cause?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Look at him. Now he had some Haitian in him. You can see it. You can see it. You can see it. But it was like 20,000 to 30,000 people that were killed. Like, he took the Dominican military and went into Haiti and killed them.
That's crazy.
For what? It was more or less to say. And then what he also did was he got rid of a lot of the African influences.
Mm-hmm.
He eliminated them. Like, him and the government at DR of the time, they focused more on Western civilization, Caucasian American influences, and they tried to mirror themselves as such.
Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to pin that one because it's getting a little deeper than we expected, because we want Precious to chime in on what she's thinking.
Right.
But the point of the story and the point of the topic is to show what's happening down there by the wall, and it's something that needs to be done either way, either way, just for humanity's sake. But we're going to get to the topic of the day, which is the story of the underdog. And of course, we are sponsored by Baller. We also got some gifts from one of the sponsors of the Evening Rush Network. I want to make sure that we have the gifts, present, because I don't have it present. Wasn't able to give you your gift there, Joe, for you to, rock on. So this weekend I will get you your gift, and then next week we'll make sure that we give the proper profits to the sponsor.
Absolutely.
Which is Sayings by Butter. Shout out to Sayings by Butter. Appreciate you. Thank you for your gift. It was a nice gesture.
Absolutely.
So we're going to go into our next topic, just so that we can stay on task. But what we're going to do is promise that we're going to bring back this very same topic again, and probably make another episode of it. So, like I said, it might need to take about 2-3 more episodes.
That's right. There's so many other Latin countries we could talk about. So,
right.
That's the good thing.
So, the story of the underdog. What is the underdog story?
The underdog story, in my opinion, it's almost like a fairy tale. It's looking at a challenge and being able to overcome the challenge at your best means. Doesn't matter what's in front of you, but right. You can succeed or prevail.
Because the underdog story tugs at the heartstrings. I'm a fan of the underdog story. And as we had discussions in the last week about the underdog, I realized that I've been duped, and this is really like systemic oppression. It's a form of systemic oppression, whereas I'm always looking from the bottom up. I'm always looking I'm the little guy. You understand what I'm saying? Trying to overcome some type of monster, some type of big old enemy or villain.
Yes.
And what we also realized is there was a flip to the story, because everybody, like I said, it tugs at the heartstrings. So they flipped it and they made us the bad guys, whereas they have to become now in this day and time the little people that has to overcome us, the big bad black guy. So I want to talk to the fact that at one point they were the Goliath in the story, you understand, while we were the Davids. And now it seems as if they flipped it to where we're the Goliaths of the story, where they're the Davids. And that's what I spoke to.
Well, when you look at us being Goliath, it's almost as if we're considered the favorite. What we're fighting for is scary. We're deemed as a threat. And like you said, once something is deemed as a threat, the victim will automatically do what they can to fight that threat or overcome that threat. Mm-hmm. But since when is asking for equality considered a threat? Right. Is it the means that we're doing it? Or is it just that people are tired of hearing of this story, so they want to change the narrative a little bit?
Well, we asked the question, what if the underdog story is created because they know we are capable of overcoming? So you make the underdog story attractive. You understand? You make being, always struggling to get yours, never actually just having it, and it's always has to be about the struggle. It's at every turn, it's about our struggle to get somewhere. So do you think it was a creation, more of a created mentality? Because me personally, I think that it's created by the elite. You understand? The same way racism was created by the elite and the underdog story, because I don't think there's people that make sure that we're sitting here fighting amongst ourselves for the scraps.
Absolutely.
It's
as if your accomplishments are not respected, as if you didn't struggle to get there. It's one of those, when I look at the underdog, I look at the overall underdog story. We talked about David and Goliath. That is the most historically known story of the underdog. The first story I can remember hearing, anybody in a religious community can hear, a small guy like David taking out a big Mughal giant like a Goliath. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have anything but a slingshot, but through the power of the slingshot, he slays the giant.
Right.
Now, let's take a look at this realistically. Can a stone take out a giant? No.
I guess in this story,
yes, because it was deemed for the underdog to win.
Correct.
We look at things at the NFL or any of these sports leagues, especially in the minority community, we're always deemed as the underdog. We come from these low-income houses, single-parent households, dealt with struggle, strain. I remember.
So not to cut you off, but I am going a little bit. So that plays into it's never a normal thing for us to succeed. Then it's always select few people who's going to defeat the norm. Right. Is what you're saying. Because remember, we're talking about David and Goliath. Everybody wasn't David. Everybody wasn't a Goliath. Right. Goliath, you had more Goliaths than you did have Davids in that sense. You know what I mean? You had a bunch of giants. You had a bunch of great warriors and such, this, and the third. But then you had this exceptionally, this exceptional person that just said, you know what, I'm going to defeat all odds. And that is our story time and time again. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, David is the exception to the norm.
Right.
He's the exception to the normality. The normal would be Goliaths, right?
Right. The normal is getting crushed. That's right. Okay.
But what it is here's an interesting thought though. If we had a balanced system, would there be a need for an underdog?
No, there won't be no need, right? Because nobody would need to have to go to war. Nobody would need to have to fight. Nobody would need to have to, one up the next man or nothing of these sorts. So we have equality all the way around the board. Yeah, right. Exactly. But because the elite wants to keep everything as usual, they will have us fighting amongst ourselves. Because what did we figure out? The elite don't care about near color.
Nothing.
Not one of these colors do the elite care about. They don't care about white, Black, Chinese, or anything. Because like when you look at the Matrix, right? The Matrix, the bad guy becomes the hero damn near. Because he's sitting there looking at you like, come on, man. But then here you is supposed to be David in real life. You're like, oh, wait a minute, hold on. This get confusing, right? So then, all right. So then you look at a show like American Gods, where it's like, it's so many, like it's whatever you believe comes to life. You understand what I'm saying? Whatever you got going comes to life. You know what I mean? It's who's your Goliath? Who's your David? You understand?
That's what it is. I mean, right now we're at a point. Let's look at something like as simple as Pan-Africanism. Pan-Africanism talks about those who are trying to find themselves and escape the unfairness of this country. Why are we deemed as villains from Pan-Africanism? Because we upset the system. We upset the normality. We're deemed as a villain, but all we're doing is asking for something that's a positive. Wouldn't we be deemed as a David because we're trying to overcome the Goliath of hate, bigotry?
But the point is, they control the narrative. They control what the media says. They control what the vision is. They control what it looks like. They control every way that is put out there. And then we become the bad guy. That's the reason why we're shot on sight when it comes down to it. It's like, okay, remember, the story is almost like we're almost like superhuman. You know what I mean? It's almost like, yo, listen, they could jump over cars. They could, you know what I mean? Because when you look at it, look, everything is highlighted about our physical. You know what I mean? We could dunk. We could do this. We could tackle. We could run fast. We could do this. So when they come up on us, listen, they must be a superhero or something. They must be superhuman when it comes down to it. So, like I said, they create the imagery that we are the Goliath. You understand? And they have to figure out, you know what I mean? And in their hearts, they are, listen, they have to figure out how to conquer us. And that's only because that's their mission, is to conquer us.
Right.
You know what I mean? So we're not, you know what I mean? As Goliaths, we're sitting there, we're laughing like, come on, man, there ain't no competition. Yeah, we run faster. Okay, but can we get some freedoms? You know what I mean? Yeah, we could jump high, but can we get some of them same, the same equalities that we know, that other people could get? You know?
Absolutely. Here's another one for you. So Goliath would be, in symbolism, Goliath would be like the body. David would be the mind.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have the mind is the one that's coming up with the things that's like, hey, wait a minute, I don't have to be a Goliath. And when you figure out that your David is technically stronger than what Goliath is, that's when you become a threat. And that's when the narrative on the underdog changes, because you have the power up here to figure out that you can overcome these things. I don't think it's a fact of the narrative being able to be changed on the elite's end, but I think it's the fact that you're able to change the narrative on your own. And once you figure that out, you become Goliath as opposed to David.
But is it now in any situation, in one situation, I mean, in any particular situation, I don't believe that any one of us want to be a David in any one situation. So that's also the funny part. So we look at the story of the underdog and it's heart-wrenching, it's like, oh man, yeah, little guy, I want you to beat the big guy. The reason why we're looking at it as such is because the big guy should crush him. You know what I mean? And I don't think that we should ever come into this mentality that we should be satisfied with being the underdog. And that is the point of this segment, is that we get too satisfied in being the people that's coming up from beneath. You know what I mean? We get satisfied with the people, with being the people that's fighting for every nickel and every dime. We need to, like I said, that's the reason why we're talking about legacies and setting forth things for our children's children, because that's what the Goliaths is doing. You understand what I'm saying? The Goliaths is that way because they're looking ahead. They're trying to set up for their children's children. So they're fortified, man. We're sitting here trying to throw pebbles at giants.
That's right.
You know what I mean? And you know what I'm saying? So the message in this is we need to stop trying to throw pebbles at giants and become the giants.
Right.
That we are, man. Right? No.
And they, like I said, or like you were referring to, you can have the strength of a Goliath, but use the mindset of a David to conquer. Maybe both of them are good in some sense, and maybe it's not that Goliath is bad. Maybe it's that David is not all good. So you have to have, I think if you have a combination of the two, you can create great things.
It's a matter of circumstance. Goliath was born into his people, and he was going to be loyal to his people and loyal to what he was taught and trained, right? So right now, the one question is, so how do we walk away from it? How do we stop being the underdog? By accepting being the giants that we are. That's the reason why we have the Evening Rush Network. That's the reason why we have Plug with Molly and Joe. That's the reason why we have Queens, the Queens in New York City, and all of these other different shows that's predominantly, Black. I'm sure it is in many ways. I think everybody is Black owned in that sense. And then it stems further when we stand in our own, when we understand the might and the power that we have as a people. You know what I mean? That's how we stop being the underdog, because we figure out we're not the underdog. There's no such thing as one, because it's all about the perspective. No,
that's right. Don't fail. Don't get discouraged. Don't let the discouragement conquer you, because that's what the idea of the discouragement is. Discouragement is to bring you down to a level to make you feel that you have to overcome and do more.
Yeah, right.
Know your worth, know your value, know these things. These things will help you overcome regardless, or get you to where your goal is.
Go ahead.
A lot of negative energy is what I think make people underdogs. Negative situations that they grow up in or that they're raised in, and not necessarily being accessible to what's really out there, what the positive things are. So a lot of that obtains to the underdog story as well. If you're not given resources, if you're not given opportunities, you're not going to believe that they're there.
Right. And that's the whole thing. And that's the reason why we have to stop looking at ourselves as the underdog and understand that we are giants. We are giants. Only thing we have to do is be given the chance. And then we also have, it says almost, because one thing is for certain is that a lot of our people always have to be almost belittled in a sense where it's like their accomplishment doesn't matter unless if they didn't struggle.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And we do it to ourselves. You know what I mean? It's like you had to come from the muck and the mire. You had to come from the hood. You had to come from the streets. You had to come from the ghetto for you to get respect for what you've accomplished and what you've done. That if you had it easy, oh well, you had it easy. Okay, like but that's another psychological situation that we can't even address today.
No.
You know what I mean?
But that is part of the breakdown psychologically.
No, yeah. So we have to. Yes, we said we need the masses to change their lens. We do. We need the masses to change their lens. Yes, the majority needs to also see their work. Yes, and that's the whole thing. It's to keep putting these platforms out there in front of people. You know what I mean? It's to keep doing these things to make people understand that we are giants. You know what I mean? It's not a game. You know what I mean? We built this country along with many other oppressed people. You know what I mean? Because the elite keep making us think that it's just a black thing. No, they oppressed everybody. Like I was telling you, I was watching that show, The American Gods. They brought their own people over here at first in them ships. You know what I mean? And it was just as packed as a slave ship, and it was just as messed up as a slave ship and all that. So it was about business as usual with them. You know what I mean? And it became about more and more business, and they knew how to do this. Listen, it's not a game, man. It's not a game. But,
not at all.
But it was.
So what do we do to? I wanted to just bring this up really quickly. I shared something in our group earlier in regards to the Richard Pryor show that he had in the 70s, where he did the skit about the Egyptian archaeologist. Going to Egypt, finding out the history of Egypt and who invented what life was. So it was 3 British archaeologists and a black one who Richard Pryor played. And he's going over the things. They're discovering all these things that were discovered by Africa, Egyptians. And it was to a point where the British archaeologists couldn't take it, and they wanted to destroy what was there because they couldn't believe it. So to their sense, they wanted to keep the narrative going because it takes away from the systematic oppression. It takes away from that. Like, what's the need for these things? If like I said earlier, the balance is of equality is what makes up the underdog story. If there was a balance of equality, there'd be no need for an underdog. So in my mind, it's really overrated. It's overrated because of the fact that we shouldn't have an underdog in the first place. Everybody should be living life the same way.
Yeah, but they'll call that communism. So with that said,
listen.
With that said, we're gonna go to our next segment. It was deep, Yeah, the underdog story is in fact a tragedy, sis. My sister chimed in. It is. And I realized it in being so enamored by it that it's a sad state to do. Like, oh, I always want to root for the underdog. You're gonna take a lot of lumps doing that. You know what I'm saying?
Right. You kind of compare it to your life. Well,
yeah. So you're gonna take a lot of lumps. I'm a Knicks fan, so trust me, I know what it is to root for the underdog for a lot of years. Them Bulls years. Everybody a Jordan fan. No, I'm rooting for the underdog. I'm gonna go for the underdog. And I was hurting, and you in tears. So, unbelievable.
Is that why Dolan won't change the franchise up because he feels that your story will bring him money?
I don't want to talk about Dolan. Let's go. Next topic. Next segment is Next Up at Baller. One of our sponsors. My baby. My program. This what we're going to try to change lives with this program. But this is what's going on next up at Baller. Next up at Baller. Thank you. Okay, we have Baller Legacy presents Fitness Fridays Zumba. $15 suggested donations. Register online at www.baller.org/events. April 9th at 7 p.m. 1014 Gates Avenue, Brooklyn, New York, 3rd floor, with Cynthia Forvet. I don't know, but it sounds good.
Yeah.
So that's one. All right. So what else we got coming up? Come on now. Where's that? It should be more. Drum roll, please. What else is going on? Okay.
All right. I can talk about this one.
Go ahead.
A March walk. We had to postpone it from last March because of weather, but we are going this Sunday, April 11th at 11 a.m. We are meeting at
that date. Don't look at the date.
We are meeting at Utica Avenue and Fulton Street in front of Boys and Girls High School.
Anybody could come out and walk. I don't care.
Please
register.
Please go on to baller.org and register. We need a number count so we can know how many that's going to come. I promise you, if you're Brooklyn, if you're interested in Brooklyn, you're going to want to do this tour. It's going to be really fun.
Yes. The March walk, but we're going to do it in April.
Yes.
Okay. What else we got? Oh my God, Baller Beauties. They're so cute. I hate them.
Look at that.
Yeah, they're so adorable. Look at that. That is so adorable. Well, Baller Beauties is having a tea party, guys. They're having it at Sunday. April 11th, 3 p.m. 1014 Gates Avenue, 3rd floor, Brooklyn, New York. Yellow and white attire requested, all nice and pretty and dainty. Not required. Okay, but it's requested. It's not required. They're just so cute. They're so darn. Yeah. Yes. Let's teach our girls how to be women. Let's teach women. Yes, indeed. Okay, coming up. Oh, yeah, this is one of my good ones. Go ahead, talk about that one.
A virtual credit education workshop with Victory Business Solutions. Monday, April 12th at 8:15 p.m. You can register at baller.org/events. You'll learn how credit works. It's a financial literacy workshop. So please register. It's something and you can connect with a credit repair specialist. So any of those who are interested in building their credit and finding out ways to get it better, this is for you. Yes. Come join us.
Yes, sir. And that's the things we're doing. What else we got going on? Hold on, I don't know.
I believe that's it for now, but there's always something new happening. So
that is it for now. Yes, that was the right amount of time. Yep, that was it for now. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna speak on a recap. Well, we don't need to recap because we're gonna bring back that topic, and we're gonna rework that topic, and we're gonna have Miss Precious in on the call for that topic, since she wants to have so much to say through text and not call us up. She could say it herself.
Yes, be ready, Precious.
Okay, so we're gonna bring her in on one of these days.
Next episode coming up soon. To vaccine or not to vaccine?
Right. We haven't talked about the pandemic like it ain't even exists or something, but my thing is, I'm not trying to breathe that negativity into the air, man. We got a lot to talk about. We ain't got to talk about no vaccines. We ain't got to talk about no pandemics and nothing like that. I look at it the same way, back in the days, there was a lot of things that humanity had to deal with when it came down to disease and how to overcome these diseases, So what's different now than back then? I don't know, but I ain't going to be your guinea pig first. That's just my opinion. But at the same time, I mean, everybody had those yellow cards, and those yellow cards meant that you got hit with something that didn't necessarily wasn't right in the beginning. Trust me.
That's right. Not to go off topic too much. I mean, before we end our show, What about that versus the other night between Earth, Wind, and Fire and the Isley Brothers?
Whoa, bro, I was ready. I was ready. bro, I had the fit on and everything, bro. I had the jacket, bro. I had it looked like it was one of their jackets. It looked like the same print and all that, man. I wish
you were the 16th member of Earth, Wind, and Fire?
No, I was man, listen, you think Steve Harvey, man, listen, Steve Harvey was happy. And I salute Steve Harvey, man. That's actually, listen, I'm gonna give somebody they flowers while they right here, and that's gonna be Steve Harvey one of these days. And I'm telling y'all, and he got a lot of haters. I don't know why, but listen, that man just be telling his life, man. Listen, speaking of truth.
A lot of people can live, you know. I was born a little after the music came out, but I grew up on it. Like I could see my father on Sunday at a card table playing pinochle with the music in the background. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was
it really felt like that on Sunday.
Listen, they was, hey, yeah, I have my jacket. Boy, I was ready. I was ready. I'm telling you, I was ready. I was water. You see what I'm saying, brother?
I say, ooh, I was home in the house.
But they were very inspirational. They didn't listen. I can't wait for our jazz band over at Baller as well. Hopefully you can get down with that, Joe. The jazz.
Oh, yeah, we'll try to make some arrangements for that. That's a good cause. So you know that.
Man. But I think that we need bands. We need music bands again, man, because the likes of Earth, Wind, and Fire is far and in between now. It's like, and the likes of the Ozzy Brothers, man. That man was looking smooth, man. And that also show you, you know what I mean, having a beard mean a lot, because he looked way different than when he don't got a beard.
Listen, 80 years old and looking like that, man. He a killer. Ron Isley's a killer. Man. I loved it. I loved it. That's my spirit animal at 80 years old.
Yeah. My sister said we sound like two old uncles. I think old uncle.
You know what? It's okay. It's all right. We just living our best life.
Yeah, I want to be like Uncle Steve. How about that?
That's right.
Whereas he feels like he's checking off his bucket list as he goes on in life.
That's right. I love it. Every day, something different getting checked off.
But what we're going to do is we're going to shut this down, and we appreciate everybody that came out. Everybody's going to take a look at our 8th show. I don't know if it's our 8th show, 9th show. I think it's our 8th show. Mm-hmm. This is really special for us. I love the back and forth with our sister Precious, and we appreciate you guys. Until next time, peace.
Peace.